How we doing, guys? It's Jack and Ste here, and we've dumped Kyle for today. So it's just us. You've just got us Northerners. I could have given a nice little Kyle impression to introduce us, but I'll save him the embarrassment. Anyway, so we won't quite call this a podcast. It's just me and Jack going to fill you in with some updates on the programming and the news that we've had recently about the Open now moving to the end of February, back to where it used to be. And we'll just fill you in with what that means for programming, our views on it, and what to expect over the next. I think it gives us, what did we work out? It gives us 27 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 27 weeks.
Yeah, until we need to be open ready again, and what the next season might look like, not just with whatever regionals or sanctionals, but other competitions as well. We'll try and keep it short and sweet, but we'll probably won't, like usual.
Waffle on as usual.
First of all, shout out to me and Jack for these sick backgrounds we've got going on. We're happy about that.
We're upgrading our Zoom game. It's only taken us 4 months. Crikey. Yeah.
It's taken us until lockdown's finished. Right, cool. So straight into it. Obviously, we got told, there was hints for a while, but then we got told more officially that the Open is now moving from October, and it's going to be end of Feb or beginning, and then through March, back to where it used to be. Obviously, a bit of a when we've periodised and been looking at programming to peak for October, there has to be a little bit of a adjustment made to make sure that we're staying on the ball and we're keeping all our athletes focusing and working in the right direction. So me and Jack have been getting together. We get together frequently, but we just recently got together and we sat down and we just figured out what will be the best way so that everyone we can kind of work off what we've done over the past and make sure that we're adjusting and editing and realigning to these new dates that we're now having to work towards. So yeah, we've put a bit of work in. We've made the plan. We've made the plan until the end of Feb, and we've implemented a few things which we'll touch on now of how it'll work. First of all, Jack, what are your thoughts on moving the Open? Good or bad? What are you thinking?
I think it's great. A bigger off season, so people have got more time to work on the weaknesses. Obviously, frustrating for those people that like to compete a bit more, but for those that really like to work on the weaknesses, just improve all round. Like, great news. We've got more time to get better.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I've had quite a few comments. You must have had about the lads, Reggie and Mikey, and even Sammy Bacon, Taylor, basically all our athletes, Evie, all our athletes that are making like great improvements. And it's just further proving the point that having an a longer off season and not competing month in, month out is how you get better. It's how you develop. Like Reggie and Mikey have chucked 20k on most strength portions. Taylor's back to slinging nearly 100 kilo snatches. Evie's what's Evie chucked on? 20k in a back squat, 10k in a back squat.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are all the strength focuses, but we can talk about Taylor's movement mechanics of getting way better. So with Evie's and the baseline foundation aerobic capacities is also improving at the same time. So we're just making the fact that these athletes have got even longer again now. The standard is going to be ever increasing, I think, for next season, which is exciting, I think.
Yes, definitely. Like you say, with athletes having, the ones that have been able to train pretty much as normal through lockdown because they've got the home gyms or whatever, they still had access to stuff and not had to worry about competing. Like, it's made a huge difference. Like, you just made some really good examples there. Everyone's starting to kind of get back to the gym, have access to everything again. So it's, you know, it's kind of like, it's your turn. We're coming out of lockdown now. Let's, you know, let's get back to business, back to where we want to be again. You know, and start doing what we enjoy and start ironing out them weaknesses, you know, focusing on them a little bit more again.
Yeah, and I think two other good things that moving the Open helps. Like, first of all, everyone was a little bit pissed off because we were looking forward to the Open because obviously all of lockdown. It was like, right, Open's the next thing. It's October. Everyone had a big run up to it, and now it's moved. So we've got an even longer run up to it. But two good things that could come about, or two other good things, is obviously everything that happened with Glassman and CrossFit, people de-affiliating and removing themselves from CrossFit. It kind of buys them a little bit more time to build some trust back and set a decent, legit rule book for the following season, so that athletes know what they're getting into and, you know, who's running it, who's behind it, so they can make a better decision rather than just kind of like rash thoughts of rash actions. And also with lockdown happening pretty much all over the world, and although a lot of the kind of top athletes might have had good access to gyms, most people haven't had access to a barbell or a rig. So dropping an Open on them 2 months later, you're probably going to get people swerving the Open just because they don't feel like they're not ready. So it covers both of those things, so I can fully understand like where they've come from and where the decisions come from. And again, it's one of those things. You've got to deal with it. You've just got to adapt and crack on.
100%. So going into this next phase, Steve, do you want to outline some of our thoughts? You know, what we kind of want people to get out of this next phase, why we're kind of, you know, going down the line that we are.
Yeah, so we have to take a lot of things into consideration. One, the kind of access that our athletes have been able to get over the last few months. A lot have been following the home versions, which it's been great. It's been keeping them training and building a foundation of more simple exercises, which is always a bonus. And then we've suddenly been able to get onto barbells and rigs. And then we didn't want to just go, right, Open now 27 weeks away, back to off season. Let's take away the amount of like heavier lifting, like gymnastics and workouts, because everyone's been dying for it for the last few months. So it was a kind of a trade-off of keeping that, and so people can stay motivated, but also at the same time keeping develop them. So for the off-season programs, what we've highlighted, like certain programs are going to go kind of back into like a deeper off-season and work on specific areas, but keep areas kind of in the same phase that we are now. So for example, I'll start with the no bias. Is that we've highlighted that one of the main things that athletes, or what separates athletes in the Open, is higher skill gymnastics exercises like ring muscle ups and bar muscle ups. They're usually the exercise, ring and bar muscle ups, where it's like there's a bottleneck of athletes because you can't do them, or you can only do one or two. And then the athletes that can do 10 plus just kind of surge on, and that's how you get the higher ranking. So to help our athletes kind of get through that bottleneck, we're just going to put a big 10-week focus now on improving ring and bar muscle up strength and competency. So just dropping back, building up some strength foundation, some better movements, and then hopefully when we get closer to the Open again, come kind of like December, January, we can start reintroducing workouts properly, and all this work over the next coming 10 weeks will be paid off, and it'll put them in a better position for the Open. So the no bias is going to have a general muscle up focus, and you'll see that into the program. That's starting as of phase 8, which is going to be next week, I think, from when this gets released.
20, yeah, you're right. The 24th week commencing 24th of August.
Yeah. And then everything else, kind of like your lifting and other gymnastics pieces, things like a little bit less skill, like toes to bar, We're going to keep the same format because we're getting some really good, not only feedback, but just like results from athletes on the program of linking exercises together again. Obviously, in off season, we kind of separated everything, and now we started kind of combining things. So we're going to keep those other elements combining and kind of keep the high quality there that we were asking for, but also mixing it in with other exercises to keep some variance. So we've kind of stepped back a little bit in some things. We're going into further off season, but we're kind of staying where we are with other things. Jack, you head up the majority of the strength work. So how is it going to work in the strength?
Yeah, so I think most people have probably, seen how strong Mikey and Reggie have got, for example, squatting wise, Evie as well. I've had them following similar programs. Obviously, it's kind of a little bit different in the sense, Evie needs a little bit more volume. Mikey and Reggie react quite well to, higher intensity. So I've noticed, obviously, they've got stronger in the squat, and it's immediately passed over to, clean and jerk, snatch, and all the other lifts. So I think it's a great time now for everyone coming back out of lockdown after doing loads of movement mechanic work, doing loads of body weight stuff. Let's get everyone else's squat stronger to start with. If we can bump that squat up past previous, PBs, if we can add, 10% on top of people's max squats in the next kind of couple of months, then that's straight away probably going to equal, 10% on top of people's snatches and clean and jerks as well.
And who doesn't want 10%? Who doesn't want 10% on the snatch and clean and jerk?
It's massive. I feel like a lot of CrossFitters are either like the power cleans and the power snatches are quite similar to the max snatches and clean and jerks. So if you're one of them people, and you don't struggle with, mobility and your technique's pretty good, then that 10%, like I say, straight away will pass on to your snatch and clean and jerk. And if your max front squat is, less than 10% than your, less than 10% higher than your clean and jerk, like I say, again, that's straight away going to pass on to a higher clean and jerk as well. So yeah, big emphasis on squats is coming up on the strength bias. Yeah, so it should be pretty exciting.
And again, that's the separator, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the separator in the opening, like we've seen with the clean and jerk workout last year. Like the jumps for the guys' weights, I remember it was like it went from 102 to 125, and that was like a huge jump. There's a lot of people that are cleaning around 120. Or 125, and unless you've got to 130 plus, you're not going to be able to be hitting that 125 bar. So, there's a big difference that 10K on all around on lifts can make on performance in workouts like that specifically. And then engine bias, we obviously banged our heads together on this one as well. And like we've done previously with like some rowing programs. And running programs, and just the way that we like to do things is that when we come out and we go back into an off season with them, we kind of drop the intensity and we focus more on kind of like for rowing, it's like low rate rowing, for skiing, low rate skiing as well. For cycling, obviously there's many different bikes out there that you can use now. If you can adjust the damper settings like on a C2 bike or a watt bike, then we're going to go for lower cadence and a little bit higher resistance, but still pushing out, moderate watts. Assault, if you've only got access to an assault bike, then we're just going to have capped RPMs. And then for running, it's like slower heart rate capped and weighted runs as well. And in terms of kind of building up your capacity on machines and ergs and running, this is like improving the strength portion of that element, that machine. So the low rate rowing is improving your power per stroke. The weighted and slow running is improving your strength in the running mechanics. You've got to be able to produce your own momentum in running, rather than sometimes when you can run faster, you're not using much of not much muscle activation. You're just using momentum to keep going. So that's gonna the strength improvement there is gonna turn over into kind of your endurance in workouts and the longer pieces.
So the conditioning as well on all the programs, we've also given people options. So obviously we're coming out, everyone might not have access to a rower, for example. So we've given you an option of, to be able to do rowing, to do running, or ski erg, whatever you've got access to conditioning wise, we've pretty much give you an option, haven't we? Just to make sure everyone's getting the same stimulus, but obviously people need that flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. And we're coupling up the erg work with, because obviously most people on an engine bias, the two things they struggle with is ergs and body weight in gassy workouts. So we're coupling that up, and we're putting time frames and time frames and intensities of body weight work in with the erg work, so that in another 10 weeks, again, similar to the muscle ups, is that we've kind of built up a big foundation of just like capacity on ergs and body weight. So then again, when we up the intensity, we're coming in from a better position with the amount of volume would have rocked up. And then finally, for the off-season programs, we've got gymnastics. Haven't we? If you want to touch on that one.
Yeah. So obviously we kind of collaborate with Matt James from Jak Gymnastics on that one. So again, there'll be a focus on those higher skills. There'll be a little bit more emphasis on handstand walks there. Obviously, in combination with what's on the no bias, the ring muscle ups, the bar muscle ups. So like I say, all them higher skills, so muscle ups and handstand walks, be like a bit more of a focus on them on the gymnastic bias. So covering all bases there. So
and that's they're the main things really. Just we've got the opportunity now to improve on areas that might have dropped you back, so let's make the most of the time that we've got to improve them. Set yourself some goals as well if you're on one of those programs and you know that this is going to be the focus now. Let's have a goal of kind of like, if it's muscle ups, for example, and you can do 3, can we, in the end of 10 weeks time, can we be pushing for 6 or 7? Similar goals for the engine and the strength, like can you add 5k, 10k to your lifts? Write down some goals, and then that'll help just a little bit of motivation when you're doing these sessions, just knowing that that's what you're working towards when the open comes back around again. I think that's most stuff really, isn't it? Is there anything else?
I don't think so. Just kind of keep people in loop with home programs. We're going to still kind of write them as well, just to make sure those people that can't get back to a gym yet, they're still all good, and still thinking about you as well. So apart from that, I think we're gravy, all gravy, baby.
We're all gravy. We've got some more little updates coming, which we'll touch on each week, but that was the main one for this week. We'll focus on them when it comes around. Maybe when Kyle comes back. Bless him.
Come back, Kyle.
Right then. We'll leave you to it. Have a good week of training. I think it's deload next week, is it not?
It is. This week. If it's released this week.
This week. Whenever it's released. Deload week, sometime around now. Oh, that's the other thing we were just going to touch on. We're bringing it so that a phase now lasts 5 weeks instead of 7. So that's 4 kind of regular hard training weeks, and then the 5th week's going to be a deload, just because of the mixture now of the higher skill stuff with the lower skill exercises. You tend to find that fatigue just onsets a little bit quicker. So just making sure that we keep fatigue at bay and no niggles, or people don't get demotivated because they're getting tired. and expect that to be the same for the next coming months. And everyone loves. You've got. If you don't love a deload by now, then
not training hard enough.
You're not training hard enough. It's true. It's true. Right. We'll leave it there.
Be seeing you.
See ya. How do I stop recording?